Compared to adults, babies have large heads. Too large, in fact, to fit through a neckline that fits their necks comfortably. So we take care of that matter and get a tidy neckline fit by adding a shoulder extension. And you can actually do this to a pattern most of the time, even if it is not written in. There's more than one way, but today I'm going to show you a super simple method to achieve it. I'm knitting the last 2 rows of length. Now in this particular pattern, these stitches all go to the back neckline, and it is straight across, and 10 on each side belong to the shoulders. If we want to knit an extension to make it easier to dress a baby, we usually extend the left shoulder. Since in this design that I'm working on, the purl side is the right side, this is the left shoulder of the back. Now these 10 stitches on the right represent the right shoulder, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. This is the first neckline stitch, and I'm going to make a little yarn marker here because there's not an obvious demarcation between the shoulder and the neckline, and we'll need to know when we go to knit the neckline. So now I can bind off these stitches. And I can just keep on binding off all the way across to the left shoulder stitches. In case this looks odd to you, all I'm doing here is the transfer bind off, but I'm using a method that doesn't involve a tool. I just pinch the stitch with my left hand and control it while I transfer it. And you just saw me pass the yarn marker. It's in the fabric, but we'll be able to move it out of the fabric as soon as we're done with it. It's just marking the neckline for us. Now we are about to reach the shoulder stitches. I had put these in hold so I wouldn't get mixed up. Time for them to go back to work. The working yarn is hanging right where we need it to be. And we'll bring over the carriage, thread it through, and knit an inch worth of knitting. Let's do 6 rows in this case. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and bind these off. And that's all there is to it. You can get much fancier, but I have settled on this method because we're going to use either big snaps or Velcro to fasten the shoulder. Either one of them stops the rolling of the stockinette. So I don't see any particular need to make an extra thick shoulder by doubling the fabric. We're already going to thicken it with snaps or Velcro. And I've been finding that this works just as well. Now here we have the back neck, 1 set of shoulder stitches, and an extension which will underlap the front shoulder. Moving on. In order to assemble all this so that we have a working vent that will enlarge the neck opening, we overlap the front over that extension in the back and sew the edges together at the armhole so that the sleeve can be sewn into place in the normal position, and yet there remains the ability to open up the neckline a little bit farther when dressing the child. For this pattern, I just created a teeny-weeny abbreviated sleeve. At this point, the yarn marker has served its purpose. We know which stitches are in the shoulder and which in the neck, so we can just go ahead and untie it and pull it out of the fabric. The finish that you're going to use on the neckline will determine the exact method of proceeding after this point. The main thing to remember is we do not want the neck trim to encompass that underlap. In this case, I am starting at the back neck, and I'm going to knit worm trim. So I was just able to skip the underlap, begin knitting the trim, and I'll work all the way around the neckline. I will work up the front edge of the neckline, down on one side, up on the second side, and then bind on. In case worm trim is brand new to you, it's hang a piece of edge on 3 needles, knit 6 rows, and repeat and repeat and repeat all the way around. Generally, we hang with the wrong side away from us. No, I said that wrong. With the right side away from us, and we're looking at the wrong side, because most of the time the finish looks better that way, although there are moments when you might go the other way. For more detail, I do have an entire video on the subject called Worm Trim for Machine Knitters. With the worm trim applied all the way around the neckline, except on the underlap for the left shoulder, we are just about ready to add snaps or Velcro. And since Velcro is what I have, that's what I will sew. One to the bottom side of the front, that is a half of the whole piece of Velcro to the bottom side of the front, and the other half to the top side of the underlap. And that will give us a nice, neat fit when the baby is dressed. But there won't be any struggle to get the garment on and off. The sweater you're looking at is a new design that will appear soon in Country Knitting of Maine News and Views. There's a separate video on making the faux cable design.